I'm here with Ed Burns, and we're going to talk about the broken relationship between carriers and shippers. Ed would be the best person to talk about that. So, without any further ado, Ed, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us about the company you represent?
Absolutely. Matt, thanks for having me on. My name is Ed Burns. Kind of grew up around the freight world. My dad was very influential on us as kids. Still influential. He's a great guy, but he brought us on these sales calls with him. And he was a freight sales guy. So our family business, Burns Logistics, is a sales agency. And what we do is we connect shippers and carriers together directly. Growing up, it was always, we don't sell, we help people. If we're selling, it's to help people. And he really imbued that in us. And TrueSignal is a digital tool that allows carriers and shippers to connect directly. And the purpose of it is to build relationships between these two parties in a marketplace that's very fragmented and sometimes adversarial. And we're trying to push through some of that and make it a little bit more relationship and long-term focused.
You got me curious about your dad's story. Like, what was the age when you started being invited on sales calls with him? And tell us a little bit about that experience. I'm super curious about that.
Yeah. So my mom's like, hey, Big Ed, I'm pregnant. Kid's coming. That kid was me. So he got a job. He got a job on a dock at night to make some extra money to get ready for his family. He got pulled into the sales side. I don't know. I was probably 3 or 4 when he started
Oh,
taking me, like little. And there's a picture of me at 4 standing in the wheel well of a Mack truck on their production floor because that was in his sales territory. So he'd go call on him. And we were little, and we would go to a place called Malone's Bakery in Allentown. And it was old Italian guys there. They were all probably 80 years old, and they made these huge sheet pizzas that they pull out of this oven. We go pick up pizzas and we deliver them to his accounts. And one year for Christmas, he made it was probably 3 feet tall, a bread, like a loaf of bread that was shaped like a little boy. He made one for me. He made one for my little brother. I don't think my sisters were around at the time. And that was it. I mean, he'd make friends. He made friends with the pizza guys. We'd go call on people. We'd go deliver pizza. We'd go out to a ball game and get to know people. We'd go to each other's birthday parties because people who he was doing work with, they had kids our age. So that's kind of how it happened.
there's a saying in Poland. We talked about a Polish accent before we hit record. From stomach through heart, or through, yeah, I guess that would be the direct translation, verbatim translation here, where
Yeah.
essentially you try to have people fall in love with you if you prepare the food with love. That's what your dad did there. Love it.
Yeah.
Food is always a great experience for everyone, and I've been to many business meetings where definitely food brought people together. We sit at the table, we dine, and we will become friends.
Yes. We like to say, let's break bread. Let's break bread. Let's get together. Let's sit down and share a meal. And you get to know a lot about a person while you're sitting and sharing a meal.
100%, yes. And I agree with you here. And I feel like moving forward, it's going to be difficult for people, for the new generations to actually understand it and do it. So we live in a time where social media is so predominant. We have thousands of friends. Some people have millions of friends, but true friend, you probably couldn't even count on one hand, right? And there's a missing part where there's human interaction, and it's not done on Zoom or any other platform online. We humans need to have that interaction. I feel like the direction we're heading is going to be make it very difficult with artificial intelligence, virtual reality, and metaverse, and all that stuff. Nothing against it, but I hope we'll never forget where we're coming from. The human interaction will be there for as long as we are around. Now, so at what age did you realize that you might be going in to become an entrepreneur or start a business on your own and maybe get into sales? Did you know from the very beginning that, hey, that's the direction I'm going to take?
So I was 15 when my dad lost his job as a sales guy at a trucking company. And it was in 2008 when the economy was kind of falling apart. And I remember watching him spin up a business and start Burns Logistics then. And he just did it. He just did it to take care of his family. And that left an impression that I probably couldn't articulate at the time. But to see him just make it happen and work really hard. But I had no intention of going into the business. We never talked about it. We talked about trucking and trucks and freight, because it was just it provided for us. So it was part of life, and certainly it's part of the economy. So we were all so we were very aware that that was part of our discussions. But When I was 20, I started a business in marketing. I started a marketing agency. I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but uh, yeah, I didn't want to go work for the man. I noticed there were a lot of miserable people in the world, and some of that seemed to have something to do with the amount of control they had in their lives, or perceived control. And so I thought, well, I'm young. What do I have to lose? Let me try it. So I did. I started a marketing agency, did a lot of digital, a lot of websites, and broke my face off of that company countless times and learned so many important lessons that when you start a business, you just don't know what you don't know. You don't realize how little you know about money or cash flow or what it means or how it works. You don't realize your own shortcomings in things like time management or how irresponsible. I really had to encounter how irresponsible I was unconsciously, how you deal with other people, how you sell, how you communicate, how you perform your service, what's important to you, learning about other businesses. It was just a wonderful learning experience. And then I was able to sell this little company. I built it up enough to sell it. And it was certainly nothing to get crazy excited about. Long story short, I sold it. I sold it. And then the deal kind of fell apart over the course of a couple months. So I took it back and it came up with a nice situation with a young guy who had helped me and worked with me for a while. So he took it over. And I was at a point where what am I going to do next? I got to go do something. So, and then it was early 2020 and the world was falling apart. Everybody was terrified. What's going to happen? We're all going to die. And a former client called and offered me a job. I said, oh, well, that seems safe. And what a stupid thing to do if you're entrepreneurially minded. Like what a
There's something that's
terrible,
safe.
yeah, I'll do something. Okay. So I'm there for a week and I'm like, I can't do this. I stuck it out for a couple months and then I was still doing some consulting, some marketing consulting on the side, which I probably had no business doing. I hit a point where I was like, I can't work for somebody else like this. I had been talking to my dad and he was telling me what was going on in freight and what was going on with his business. I said, and I sat down with a friend of mine. He said, why don't you go work for your dad? Quit my job. Why don't you go work for your dad? And we never talked about that. I can't work for him. It's never come up. He said, call him right now. Ask him for an interview. So I did. I picked up the phone. I said, hey, Dad, could I get an interview? And he said, okay, why? Okay, all right. So we sat down, had a cigar, and talked about it. And talked about, well, what could go wrong? What could go right? Is there room to grow this business? And could I be part of that? So joined the family business about 5 years ago. And that's Burns Logistics. We have a nice, healthy little family business, but we've talked about how can we help more people, and that's part of why we have TrueSignal now.
Speaking, I didn't know about your agency background, but you have it. I have 2 books here from gentleman called David Ogilvy. Maybe
One of
was
the most brilliant marketing minds of all time.
yeah. And if you listen to the Founders podcast, which I highly recommend to any founder, he breaks down founders' story. He's one of his favorite entrepreneurs as well, and CEOs. You got the way he handled the business, and he recommended obviously the Confession of an Advertising Man and several books are almost like I would say those were his original sales letters, the books, and they're still, even he said it somewhere later in other books, that these books are still generating leads like 20 years 30 years in, and I feel like they're still generating leads for his agency now, even though he's no longer with us. But the unpublished David Ogilvy unpublished, this is almost like quotes from his life, from his interviews and what have you, where sometimes, it's not only about, it's really talking about marketing actually here, rather than running a business. I feel like he would like this book as well. So check it out. David Ogilvy, The Unpublished. Good one.
That's a great recommendation. Thank you.
Yeah. And what did you like and what didn't you like about running the agency back then? You've shared so many lessons. So let's touch on that for a second.
Yeah. Oh, well, it was a lot about running a business was good and very difficult. I remember I went to a dinner event. There was all these wealthy guys in the area, and they had car dealerships and insurance companies, and all these older guys were kind of bragging. And the one guy who wasn't looked at me and he said, "Young man, you ever struggle to make payroll?" And I was kind of embarrassed, and I said, "Yes, sir, I did." He's like, "Well, tell me about it." So I did. I told him, I said, I didn't have enough money to make payroll. So I took every dollar I had, I cashed out all my investments, everything, and it was just enough to make payroll. And we made payroll. And then, some money that was outstanding came in, and we were, okay over after that for a little bit. But I didn't know cash flow or how to manage money really, which was the underlying issue. But he stuck his hand out and he shook my hand and he said, "Attaboy, a real entrepreneur has really had to suck it up sometimes." And then after that, we were like friends. And he just sent me a note the other day, because people can be very braggadocious about business and their successes. And there's this pressure from social media to live in the highlight reel and show how wonderful things are. But that's not reality. It's certainly not reality all the time. The wins are wonderful, but anybody who's really winning genuinely has probably taken a lot of losses and a lot of failures along the way. So I think that was really good, is in a small business with relatively low stakes as a young guy, I was able to learn a lot of lessons then that, if I had started a career and worked for somebody else for 20 years and then done that, I still would have had to learn all those lessons, and certainly still have a lot to learn, but got a lot of really good mentors at that time, because people are extremely willing to help somebody in their young 20s start a business. They just want to help you. And I was able to benefit from that. Marketing is fun. I think writing and communication is a blast. The enjoyable things, I like doing design. I just really enjoyed figuring out what layout should be like and make something beautiful and take something that had been ugly, figure out what we're trying to accomplish, what we're trying to convey, and make it visually appealing. I've always really enjoyed that. But what I didn't enjoy is started getting really hung up on the technical stuff and the space. Oh, how to price things was another good one. You price really low, thinking you're going to make people happy, and then you have all these miserable, unhappy clients, and then you jump your rates up, and it's easier to sell it, and you have less complaints. So I was dealing with all those things, but at the same time, technology was moving in a space where it was easier for people to build your own website. So selling a website became increasingly commoditized. And I think there was kind of two tiers. It was like you have a low tier and then the high tier. And the gap between those two was really changing. We were dealing with a lot of technical issues, and that stuff, it got old after a while. And I was burnt out on it and ready to go do something different.
I never, like, to open my mind. I rarely, maybe not never, but rarely look at it from this perspective. But yeah, if you think about it, there's so many lessons that go along from running a marketing agency, and there's sometimes it's the reality hits, and like you said, yeah, I'm glad you're able to meet those mentors and have some good memories. I feel like that's shaped you for sure in the early stages of your entrepreneurship.
Yeah, well,
TrueSignal,
Matt,
yeah,
marketing is so important. Marketing is so important to every business. Can you convey what you do? Can you convey the value? I think it's still very challenging, but doing marketing and learning how to do that for other people makes it easier for you to do it for yourself later on, I think.
I like that. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite platform or a favorite way to market?
For like personally,
Yeah.
I like X. Um,
Okay.
spend some time. I try to not spend too much time on any of those platforms. So the number one will be YouTube for long form. That's probably the biggest ones. I try to when I watch something on YouTube, it's usually a long form content. It's outside of podcast, and probably X. And I started liking LinkedIn slowly but surely. And congrats to 10K followers, by the way, on LinkedIn. I do think that LinkedIn needs not the second, not third, maybe fourth or fifth chance from people, because there is so much bad rap, I guess, for LinkedIn, the way they structured the company during the Microsoft acquisition. And it was just so like weird. Like you don't hang out on LinkedIn. Like it's
Mhm.
not a cool platform. It's not enjoyable. Like you go there because you have to, because you must in order to grow business or earn business. I feel like it's shifting. It's after all a social media platform. A lot of like 80% of the content there is something that I would not resonate. And I like to say I'm not accepting any invitations for arguments there. I can just move on. The algorithm is still tricky, because I can't tell you how often I do not want to see this type of content. It's not relevant to me. I don't want to see this. and the next day it shows up the same exact content, and the next day and next day. So the algorithm is not picking up at all. Versus different platforms, I feel like the algorithm is so much faster, like based on your interest. If you don't like something, it will not feed that content to you. But overall, I feel like LinkedIn is the best platform for networking. I mean, whatever industry you're trying to explore and connect with, I believe if you have some sort of presence there, this is the easiest platform to do so. Versus, X, Instagram, you have way too much spam, you have way too much people, trying to send you a DM and pitch you or what have you. I feel like LinkedIn is a little bit easier for that, from my perspective. Oh, why did you ask?
I'm just curious.
I like it. But you would be a great partner, because the main reason why we went into email marketing with my wife was that I hated design. I love the aesthetics. I love to see the outcome. I love to see the end result. I'm super excited to present it, and I love it. But I hate doing anything to do with design. So me, everything is black and white. On the other hand, my wife loves design, and she would spend 12 hours, 14 hours designing something on her platform, like all day, all night. Like, she can do this and she's in her zone. Don't talk to her. She loves it. And that's what the main thing. But for me, I love words, and I love the technical part of it. I like when something gets some challenges show up, and there's technical aspect of it, and I have to figure out how to solve it. Love for words. Probably a good combination with design, because copywriting is obviously a big part of design as well. Yeah, I feel like we'll do good partners. If you ever think about starting an agency again, hit me up.
I will. I won't do it, but if I did, I would call you.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a tough business. Once you're out, I feel like you rarely see people going back. Even though I see that happening with AI. AI is bringing a new wave of marketing firms, and that's
Oh my
very
goodness,
attractive
yes.
for some. So we'll see. What's your take on AI? Let's talk about that.
I have some mixed thoughts. I saw something great a while back, and it said, I was hoping that artificial intelligence would do my laundry and clean my dishes so I could spend more time writing poems and creating art. And instead, AI is writing my poems and creating my art so I can spend more time doing my laundry and cleaning my dishes.
I love it.
And I think that's the trick with AI, is the technology is incredible and it's very powerful, and that can't be denied. And there's an application for it, and there are lots of applications for it. But I don't think societally we are prepared to handle it. I don't think we've adjusted to social media yet and
Mm.
its role in our lives, and a proper understanding of how to use it or not use it. I think that if we use AI, there are two fears. One is it's not that good right now. So the messaging that's coming out, the automations with AI generated content, it's bad, it's noisy, it's enabling people who shouldn't be in my inbox to be in my inbox, saying and just wasting time. It's a lot of noise creation. And that's an issue right now. I think the fear that people have is that down the road, what if it gets really good? And I don't know the difference between whether I'm communicating with a real human being or not. And I think I would share those concerns. I think the best thing to do if we're scared of it is to use it and try to understand its capabilities. I think there are certain tasks that it's well suited for, but I hope that the artists and the writers will flourish in the age of AI and not be replaced by it, because it lacks human soul. And there's so much of ourselves that we can imbue into our work, which is what makes work have dignity. And I think a lot of times the conversations around AI are so focused on productivity. Oh, we need to do more. We need to do more. Well, time out. Do we understand as a society the purpose of work? And I think the answer is no. It's the purpose of work is to provide for our families, to feed ourselves, and there is dignity in work in and of itself. But that's because in a certain way, we are, as creative beings, we flourish as we create. And for a tool to do the creation for us, now we're missing out on that piece. So I think that can become very dangerous. What do you think, Matt?
I think that Marcus Aurelius would be proud of what he just said, to understand the essence of work. And that's very well said. As far as I believe, I share the same view, similar view to yours. We need more skepticism around AI. It's here mostly a lot of enthusiasm and optimism, and like people are going crazy because you could tell it a few words and it gave you a full email, or it gave you a full script, or it broke down something that would normally take you an hour. And they get overly excited about the fact that you can do this. But at the same time, we
Mhm.
are busier than ever. We're less productive than ever. We don't know whether or not we can essentially, we talking to a human, we communicate with a bot, with AI, with a robot. There's still, I feel like it's still finding its own place. It's scary at the same time. It's very obviously exciting for those reasons. But I have a mixed experience, like you
Mhm.
said it well, where there's productivity platforms fully based and operate on AI. You get to communicate with it. You tell it what you need to do. But I tested it. I tested it hands off. I was like into it. 1 week, let's find out.
Yeah.
Was told before I joined the platform, and I obviously will not share the name of the platform, that I will work 4 hours a day, not a week yet. No, I'm not Tim Ferriss, but 4 hours a day, and I'll get my stuff done. This was the only time where I had to work 12 to 14 hours every single day, and I still didn't get anything done. I was not productive at all. And I gave it another day. So 5 days I tried it, didn't work out. So I went back to the old school ways, and I have my productivity AI tool that measures time, keeps track of time. I can move it if I want 60 minutes, 5 minutes. There it is. I can 10 minutes. I just flip it
Oh,
and
that's
it
cool.
measures my time. That's the best productivity hack right there.
That's cool.
Yeah, so we'll see where it's going. I mean, it's definitely moving at the pace we have never seen anything like that. Like every single day, there's so much improvement there, but it's still. I feel like it's still finding its own place where it's going to be. I mean, the scariest part, obviously, and that's what I hear from every conversation from previous guests, is that it's gonna take our jobs, gonna take your job, it's gonna take my job, but then like what's going to happen then? Like it's not gonna, we're not ready for it. Just disappear, or it's not going to
Why
happen.
are we trying to be more yeah, why are we trying to be more productive? What are we going to do with that time? I don't think we've answered those fundamental questions that should come before these methodologies. Like we don't have a framework to understand the benefits. So is this so that everybody can work less, or is this so that everybody can work more? And because right now it's creating more emails and communications in my inbox, and I think that's kind of what it comes down to is, oh, this technology is cool. Yes, of course the technology is cool. What is the role of me in the economy as a person, and what should it be? And more generally, like what purpose do we serve in working? And those are the questions that I think we haven't wrestled with, and they're a little more philosophical, but that's important. And I think if we gloss over it and just think this tool is so cool, okay, so what? What we need to get to a conversation around purpose and meaning and have a clear understanding of that. And also a sense of right. Individuals have a sense of right and wrong. Now, depending on how well formed they are or how well educated that's, or in what schools of thought or what religions, that can certainly vary. But it's not clear that, like, what school of thought does AI come from? Because that premise is very important in having a conversation with another human being. So I think there are a lot of moral issues with AI that we're not considering.
It has no emotions and no experiences.
It can feign emotions, though. That's what's crazy. It feigns emotions. These tools can pretend to feel sad or be sarcastic or go unhinged or whatever the case may be.
Machiavellian AI.
Yes, well, it might be. I mean, it's probably read Machiavelli, so I don't know whether it's taught to think that it's a good idea or not.
What do you use AI for, and like for personal purposes?
Last night I was reading a book and I just, for fun, started asking for an overview of the book and breakdowns of the chapters and takeaways and pulling questions. And it did a good job on some things and it didn't do a good job on others. I mean, I really just play with it. I think I used it one time to create a post and I didn't think it was right to continue to do so. So I don't use it to create content. I have had some success, I believe, in helping to break down legal documents, going through agreements, helping to understand what terms mean in the context of law, and in doing some research alongside of it. It seems to have done pretty well there, and I was pleased with the results. I thought that was a pretty helpful application for me.
You read my mind there, 100%. That's. I have a project called Mindset where I break down certain books, or I have a chat with the character if I want to. That's another cool way to do it, to dig deeper. And
Yeah.
obviously, it knows me pretty well by now, and that's the memory aspect of it. It's interesting for sure. And then learning things and explaining
Yeah.
things like you're in layman's terms, like you're five. That's a great way to break down legal documents. I agree with you, and I use it as well. But sometimes it's for like for technical things. Like yesterday, I was working on a proposal for someone. I was asked to create a proposal for someone, and it was a lot of numbers.
Hmm.
I had an argument. I have to admit, I apologize to ChatGPT and other platforms because I didn't use only ChatGPT, but I got almost emotional because I felt disappointed. The numbers were super off, and I essentially was giving him the proof that, hey, you miscalculated this completely. It's wrong. Why are you
Yes.
giving me these numbers? It apologized, but it still didn't give me the right number. So it was very technical, and obviously I'm assuming in order to give me good data, I would have to start from scratch and feed it the right information one by one, and then get the outcome that I deserve. So it's prompt engineering is definitely still in early stages. I feel like we're great, obviously, for certain things, but imagine if I wasn't as observant and perspicacious enough, and I would just give that information to that person, I would put my reputation at risk. I would look stupid, quite frankly, because the numbers were very off and
Hmm.
very obvious at first sight. And I would just copy and paste it. If I didn't think for myself, that's the part that scares the most for me. I feel like AI will make and I'm guilty as well of charge here, makes our brain lazy. Like our brain will not be used to think for itself. It's not going to be used to think critically. And it's a skill. It's not only a habit, it's a skill. And if you want to get better at something, if you want to get better at running, you have to run. You have to run every day, ideally, and recover, or maybe every other day.
Yes.
So you can't get good at something just by talking about running, just by thinking about running, just seeing other people's run. You have to actually run. And that's the thing that I believe will separate a lot of people, or some people, maybe not a lot of people, the smaller percentage of people that actually continue that route of critical thinking and leveraging AI. But I've already seen some crypto type of growth over the last 12 months from some friends who leverage AI to the point where their companies 100x almost, not overnight. Obviously, it compounded over months and almost years at this point, but it's definitely something to
Hmm.
not sleep on. So it's like that Bitcoin in 2014 or 2015. You can still make money in
Yeah.
crypto. Of course, it's not crypto advice here. I'm not crypto bro at all. But you could make a lot more money, and people make so much money overnight, pretty much with those coins and cryptocurrency. If you didn't jump on it, you kind of miss out. And 10 years later, and we have artificial intelligence where we see it in front of our eyes, unfolding in front of our eyes. So do with this information what you want, but do not sleep on it.
But Matt, you brought up the the idea of critical thinking, which is so essential and so wonderfully human, the ability to think critically. We have that capacity as humans, and we either exercise it or do not. We can grow in that. But where a big concern I have with AI is right now, if you've been educated without AI and you know your trade, you know the space in which you work, then you can use artificial intelligence to multiply your abilities and greatly increase your productivity. Absolutely true. But what about children right now? And they grow up in a world with AI. They will not, if they are exposed to AI in a way that's where they turn for their answers and for their creation of art or writing, they will not grow up having exercised their ability to think critically. And that is very scary.
I think about it a lot as a new parent. It's already weird to see every time Alexa turns on or Siri turns on out of nowhere, just by mistake. And my daughter's looking around and like, who's talking? What is this? And she's already like drawn into
Yeah.
it, and she wants to go and touch it and feel it. It's like what that's already
Yeah.
a weird experience with it, because it's just the beginning. Obviously, we grew up in different environments. That's then just perspective there, how far have, we've progressed. But at the same time, like you said, how do I maintain that environment for my kids to develop the critical thinking element? That's going to be an interesting thing. I'm still exploring it, so open for ideas. Ed, if you sat across the table, if you have a lot of experience that you've gathered over the last decade plus, if you sat across the table from younger Ed, what advice would you give him?
Be patient. Listen to Billy Joel's Vienna. The words, slow down. You're doing fine. You can't be everything you want to be before your time. Life's a beautiful thing, and you'll figure it out, and people will come along to help you, and everything's going to be okay. You have nothing to prove, and just keep learning, and enjoy every moment of life. That's the advice I would give. And implement profit first immediately into your business at whatever stage you're in. That's the advice I would give.
Great book series for sure. Thanks for a recommendation. The Italians would say "la bella vita," beautiful life. Life is beautiful,
La bella
indeed.
vita. Yeah.
Now, spitting into the future,
Yes.
what's the North Star for you with the Burns Logistics or freight business, with TrueSignal? Maybe you have some other projects in your pipeline. What's the North Star for you?
Yeah, I really believe in what we're doing at TrueSignal, and the freight market is really a mess in some ways, and there's a lot of frustration. And so with TrueSignal, perhaps naively, and I say that because I'm just not quite sure. I'm trying to push for some behavior changes in the way that people do business with one another in transportation, and pushing for people to be more long term thinking and strategic and relationship oriented. So I recognize that perhaps in trying to push for those things, it's a little over ambitious, but I do believe in it, and I've seen people have success with it. So with TrueSignal, we really are trying to create change in the marketplace, and help carriers and shippers work together directly. I think with all this technology coming in, that's going to become easier, not harder. It's going to be easier to have direct relationships between the shippers and the carriers. So that's one thing. I love to write, and if I could get a book out there, I would consider that a great accomplishment. Just, yeah, try to grow in virtue.
Please.
Leave a leave a positive legacy. I remember every time I go to a funeral for someone, especially men, as men, I think we connect with that, and if I hear the words, "Oh, he was a good man," and that's what people say about somebody. I think that is an incredible legacy to leave behind. To be a good man means so much. So hopefully, get better at that, and impact. There's so many little moments in conversations where we get to uh, either gloss over them and think they don't matter, or bring some impact and meaning to them, and share a word of kindness, or listen, or whatever the moment may bring to us. So just can get better at being present, and be better. Just keep getting better, and being kinder, and enjoy.
And I told you before the conversation, before we hit record, that you have that good man aura around you. Even I haven't met you in person yet. Hopefully this will happen soon, but online alone, I had that good man aura around you, and I give you shared the feedback with you. So you're definitely on the right track here. And with that, I wanted to say thank you so much for your time this morning, early afternoon for you, Ed. It was a pleasure. I know we could talk for probably another 4 hours, and 40 minutes went by like 4 minutes. So that means we had a good conversation. At least that's my experience. It was an honor to host you, and I look forward to see you grow. And I definitely already crave some more content from you, and more conversations. I feel we could connect on definitely so many different topics here that we covered. And that's what I look forward to in the future.
Matt, I look forward to talking with you again as well. Really fun conversation. Thanks for asking some really good questions.
Appreciate it.